Hey guys, what's up? A few days ago I posted a video on a Forge map I made in Halo Infinite, and I figured I was gonna go in and just show you guys basically the fundamentals of it, because it's fairly complicated, but if I can learn it, I'm pretty sure most of you can. So, yeah, let's get into it. So, of course, you go into the Forge button, pretty basic, but you just go into 343 Industries, and they got some stuff for you to choose from. They have the maps they made in Forge. You can actually mess around with them some if you wanted to, but I'm just gonna start fresh. I don't know what Institute is. That looks weird. It's probably just. Oh wait. It's basically the biome wherever the live fire map is. So that's kind of cool. C4 is pretty cool, but I think I'm going to go Ecliptic. It is probably one of my favorite backgrounds. And then of course name it. Name is something that you can remember. Don't just not put a name in unless you genuinely don't care about it. Because otherwise you will end up with like 5 ecliptics, which that would be quite strange. And it saves like weird versions or whatever. Every time you press the save button, it saves a new version, which I've found this actually like really helpful. It seems kind of pointless, like why is it taking up all this extra storage space, blah blah blah, but actually they're holding it on their servers, I'm pretty sure, so you don't even have to worry about it. And it's really nice because I found that certain versions that I saved were more prone to crash. So if you just go in and load up an older version, sometimes you can get back into it a little bit easier. So I'll just basically show you guys like the controls for your basic stuff. Yeah, mainly just to show you guys the controls, show you the things I've learned. Um, yeah, just pretty basic stuff, and I'll make a map and then show you guys it at the end. And one thing to mention is if you are on the Xbox Series S or a PC that is running on specs closer to the minimum of Infinite, which is me, but yeah, you're more likely to crash. So you just want to make sure to save often. But even if you're on something that's pretty powerful, Infinite can still crash randomly. It happens. So just make sure to save often. So obviously it gives you some buttons in the top right corner. You guys can see all those. But yeah, these are just pretty basic stuff that it gives you. R to open the Forge menu if you're on PC, and I'll overlay controller controls like while I'm talking with text basically, if I remember to. Hopefully I remember to. Yeah, and then you in your object browser settings, that's where you change your colors, your textures. Actually, I'll just show you guys that real quick before we even get started with anything else. So this is a UNSC standard floor. You go in, this is how you can transform it if you want to be very precise in like changing what size it is. This is if you want to move it. It's weird for those of you that are used to like Minecraft and stuff where Y is your vertical. Unfortunately, it's not an infinite. It's kind of confusing, but your Z coordinate is actually your vertical. Don't know why they did it that way, but that's the way they did it. And then under here, regions. If you just go in here, you can choose your colors and stuff. I really like this color, so I'm going to go with that. And then you can just scroll through and see which ones you want. Like here's metal corrugated. Kind of looks like a golden brick road or something. Kind of cool. I might use that. And let's say I did want to use this for something eventually. I could hold, what button is it? Actions menu. No, but that is, if you go to the actions menu, that is how you can save. On PC, you can also do that by pressing Control S. So E, yeah, that's where you can, yeah. So you can actually save a prefab if you select multiple items, which a prefab is basically just like your own like little object. Like, let's say you have a table of like a couple of chairs and you don't want to place down the chairs every time. Just save the prefab and it'll place the table and the chairs. So it's a pretty handy tool to use prefabs. Let's see if I have any prefabs saved under here. Oh yeah, of course. Of course, Big Chungus is here. He's not loading in quite perfectly well, but we'll just drop him in so you guys can see kind of how prefabs work. As you can see, he's several different objects, but he's stacked in one. I did not make this. Credit goes to whoever did, of course, and I will look into that. Who did? I forget, but yeah. If you do use stuff like that and you want to like post it on YouTube or whatever, I'd definitely consider like giving them credit for it, because, you know, Big Chunk is pretty impressive looking, and we wouldn't want him to go without his credit, now would we? Now, it starts you with a bunch of this stuff, which if you're confused, you have every right to be. Basically, I'll just go through what it does give you. Now, these are your fixed spawn points, so if you do not... Yeah, fixed spawn points. So basically, those are just spawn points that will never move. These are your initial spawn points with the little intro cinematic. If you haven't played Infinite in a very long time, that's basically where the camera will go, and then shows you guy doing like the punches, or like he turns around. It's just the intro cinematic. It starts you there as well. And you can actually, by going into settings on here, you can change which team it is linked to. If I actually manage to select it properly. Yeah. Then you go all the way down here, team designator, and then you change that. Unfortunately, unlike Splitgate or any of the other Halo Infinite Forges of the past, it doesn't show you what team color it is, so that can be kind of confusing. But yeah, it's something you gotta deal with. It gives you some game mode stuff as well. Like, these are your power seeds if you're gonna do power seed on your map, just so you don't have to go in there and find them. They are also available in the object browser. Shrinking zone, this is for like attrition or something, where the map slowly gets smaller. Only gonna really be useful in certain modes. That's your ball stand for oddball. Flag stands, obviously, for CTF. We got King of the Hill capture zones that you can move around in place, and stronghold zones and stuff like that. And then these are just some more spawns that you get as well. That's just like a starter cover. And yeah, so let's go into the object browser. So here you can see your prefabs that you've saved. These are like prefabs that you go around and save from other people, although I believe it'll show your free prefabs in there as well, but I don't know, because I don't see mine. But yeah, then there's recents, so if you're like spamming down a bunch of the same block, this is pretty handy in case you accidentally lose where you were at. Okay, so then I'll go basically section by section in here. So accents, these are like mainly decoration stuff, but you can use some of them as like building blocks kind of, but mainly you got decorations. Like, you have your dead bodies, you have crates, whole bunch of crates, like more crates than you'd ever need, but I'm glad they put them in there. Very nice feature. Ducts, vent. Nothing suspicious about that at all, I promise. Garbage. Lots of garbage. Sandbags. You like your military sandbags. Obviously a very cool decoration. And then you got all sorts of UNSC stuff. These are like the objects that you want to put inside buildings, and like outside it's just accents, like it says, decorations to go around the place. Now, biomes. This is where you are gonna want to go if you chose a template with no ground like this one, or if you chose a template with ground but you'd prefer it to not look like a Minecraft flat world. Well, this is the right section for you. You want to go to biomes, then go down to terrain, and I'm going to find a piece of terrain that I want. Yes, a sphere terrain. That would look very good, I think. So then let's grass A. No, I don't want grass. What do I want? Rock cliffside. Maybe that'll look right. Alright, well, I won't be able to see it because unfortunately it's not loading. Oh, okay, that's better. That's better. So, through scripting and stuff, there's actually a way you can set gravity on these items, but if I were to go into play mode, it would not fall on everything, sadly. But yeah, so now I'm gonna go into like some basic movement options. Now, obviously, this is kind of like Unreal Engine, how the way you move stuff. For those of you who aren't familiar, you won't understand what I'm saying at all. But basically, it's just 3-directional like this, it's kind of annoying because you have to move around. And for those of you on PC, to look around, hold the right click, which is also kind of like Unreal Engine in a way. But yeah, so just hold right click. On console, I think you can just look around by default anyway. But yeah, on here, and the minus implies that you'd be like selecting an object whenever you click, and then the plus, this just means that you would copy it, I believe. Yeah, I don't know what the little different symbols mean, but yeah, if you don't know, guys, you are playing as a monitor whenever you're flying around here in Forge. And yeah, just your num keys to move as usual, and shift to move faster. I would assume on console is just sprint, but like I said, I'll be throwing those buttons in as I go. Yeah, so now for other movement stuff, so you can obviously move it in one direction, specifically by grabbing just that arrow, or you can grab all of them and move it all at once, which is kind of messy. I prefer grabbing one at a time, and it's kind of handy because you can even move objects pretty quickly if you sprint like this. Well, sometimes it will, but yeah, you can sometimes sprint like that and it'll bring it with you, which is kind of nice. It just is a little bit stuttery sometimes, as is the rest of Forge. It's pretty buggy, but it is a beta, so we gotta give it for what it's worth. Okay, so rotation. Control E on PC, it was kind of hard for me to figure it out at first how to even do this, but once you figure out the button, it's actually pretty simple. Like, if you just read the side, I literally spent so long trying to figure out how to do this, but it literally says right there. But yeah, it is still kind of complicated, so that's why I'm including it. On here, you just grab each axis, I think that's what you call it, and yeah, and then you can just rotate it that way by dragging on the axis. Now if you go far enough, it will get all bugged out, but hopefully you don't need to rotate an object that far anyway, or you just do it in parts. Then next, Control R is the scale objects. Now they were actually pretty nice. It made most objects scalable actually. There's a few that are not, usually namely the MP items. Those ones are not scalable, but let's say I want to make a big fat potato space rock. I have a big fat potato space rock. Except I'm actually going to not make it that big, because I don't think it needs to be that big. That is a much better potato space rock. Now let's see. You can press F5 to go into play mode real quick. This is just like your mini play mode though. I want to call it mini play mode, but that's kind of what it is. And basically what this does is you're invincible. Most of the features do not work, but it's good if you just want to see if a player can like fit in a certain spot or the scale of things. Yeah, to go into the for real play mode, press F6, and that will actually like cue you a little loading thing, and then you'll get teleported to a spawn and everything. Now, if you're playing with friends, do not press this button unless they're ready for it, because it will also bring them into that mode. But the normal, like just test mode, that is not. That one's fine if you just want to do that at any time, because they're not affected by it. I'm trying to see. So yeah, basically you're just going to want to like mess with things. It's kind of hard to see sometimes, but if you fly around you can get a good idea of what different things are like. So I like that for one of my asteroid islands. Now let's say I wanted to copy my asteroid island, which I actually do. For the other side, I do Control D, and like I said, I will have the console buttons. I feel like probably a lot more tutorials have already been made on the console buttons, as it's kind of obviously made for console more so than PC, but it still does have support for it, obviously. And I would actually say that on PC it's easier to use in some ways. Some functions, like the buttons, can be a little bit harder to remember, but in terms of like moving stuff, it's a lot easier in scaling stuff, and I'll get into that and explain why, because I've had a friend use the console Forge and he had some complaints about it, so yeah, I'll get into that. But yeah, I have definitely had some complaints with this version as well. But yeah, so just all sorts of terrain you can go through, including flat terrain, sphere terrain, terrace terrain, any terrain, ramps, terrains. There's all sorts of stuff. that you might possibly need. So also, in terms of movement, because I forgot earlier, space to fly up, C to fly down, but you don't really need that because you can look around and just fly a lot easier that way. Okay, so yeah, to save my map, Control S, that's another important thing. And then I said I was going to go through these folders, that's right, didn't I? Alright, blockers, these are like your boundaries, kind of. You can just place these are good for like mini games and stuff, but I use the player blockers as well on my Among Us temple map that I showcased last time, just to keep people from going outside the map, because I haven't figured out how to do it otherwise, and it works pretty well. The only problem with these is they're not scalable, but there is a absolutely humongous one that you can place like that, and then you don't even have to worry about it. Yeah, so that's basically some of the blockers. But also, if you're going to do that method, you need vehicle blockers as well, because unfortunately, players, if they're on a vehicle, will go right through player blockers. If they hop off, though, they'll get shoved off the map, which I find kind of funny. Okay, so yeah. These are just your, like, decals, like, building decorations, stuff like that. Exit, you know, basically just whatever it says. Now, it has letters, but it kind of stinks because it only has A through F, which maybe they'll add more. I hope they do. It was kind of annoying because, as you saw on my Among Us Temple map, if you saw that, I just had to make the letters the old-fashioned way, the Minecraft way, and just place stuff, blocks and stuff to try to get it to look like words. But yeah, they got the numbers, UNSC decorations as well. Now these are effects. You can add knots, insect swarm, firefly, butterfly, birds, and then atmospherics. I did not actually mess with these yet, but these look pretty cool. Then, oh my goodness, there's like a bunch of these. Yeah, there's a bunch of these. So just a lot of cool stuff you can do, really. Explosions. Holograms. I'm not going to go through all of them right now. And like I said, some stuff isn't loading properly because I'm on a slightly lower end PC for playing this game. But it still works for the most part. These audio emitters, they're pretty cool. You can like put sounds on them. They have quite a few already. I don't know if there's a way to put them in. Now gameplay, this is where you're going to want to go for pretty much everything in terms of actually playing the game, like the name would suggest. So we have launchers, lifts, you know, like your standard gravity launchers and stuff, but there is also the good old-fashioned gravity lift as well, making a return. Equipment, you got grenade spawns, you got like grapple shot spawns and stuff, just the actual equipment, not grenades. And then you have game mode stuff in here in case you accidentally destroyed them at the beginning, which honestly I might suggest doing, except you might want to have spawns or something, but you can always get those back. Match flow, these are where you can get your like initial spawns with stuff. And then nav mesh, these are for helping the bots move if you play with bots, although from my experience the bots were actually not too horrible. Like, I found them being like very intelligent sometimes. Other times, I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate in the comments for this, absolutely other times they're pretty stupid. Like there's like 3 bots I was watching them, they were just like running into a wall for like straight 30 seconds before they finally figured it out. But yeah, you can put these if you want your bots to be able to like jump in certain spots. But if you don't even want to have to worry about that, just put ramps going into everything and the bots will be able to get into it anyway. And they can go up gravity lifts and stuff by themselves too. They'll use teleporters. Mainly trying to chase you, but like they'll use them by accident sometimes too, which is kind of funny to watch. Like, I was finding bots in like hidden spots on my map that I made specifically like hidden scripting. These are like things that you can script into the game, which is kind of cool, like buttons and stuff. Teleporters. Now teleporters I'll cover right now, I guess. So you can choose the invisible or visible variant. I would say the invisible ones are good for like certain very specific circumstances, I would just use the normal ones most of the time, just for simplicity. Now, actually placing them on rough terrain like this can be kind of annoying, so one trick you can do is you can rotate it, and if you press the number pad minus button, it changes by how much you rotate stuff each little click. Yeah, and then if you go into settings, you can just very slightly tap that number down by clicking like this, but not that far. We don't want it in the ground. Now if you press R, but yeah, so this is where you're gonna mainly want to go for teleporters. Now, but basically kind of works like you just link portals to other portals. Alpha will go to alpha, beta to beta, and so forth. But you can also set it to be, where is it? Oh yeah, receive only. Now these are if you want the portal to be like one way. It can only have people teleport onto it, that people cannot teleport from it. So those can be useful for certain things. But yeah, like I said, you have to set alpha portals to go to alpha and so forth. But you can make the portal receive from other portals, which is interesting. Not sure what practical application that has, but yeah. And teleporters and grav lifts and everything like that do not work if I was to just go to F5, even though it doesn't have a portal on the other end. It just doesn't work unless I press F6 to go into the main play mode. And like I said, console buttons I will show. Yeah, vehicles. Now you can just place vehicles and just weapons, but I would recommend placing a pad so that they respawn, or in weapons whenever I get to them. Yeah, oh, volumes. Kill ball, kill volume. Named location volume, safe. Okay, so okay, I didn't know what these were at first. But the soft kill, these are like your out of area spots for like 10 seconds and then you get eliminated. I didn't know what they were. There's straight up kill volumes where you'll just die if you touch them at all. So, you know, those are useful if you have like a fall on your map and you don't want the player to fall forever before they hit the bottom. Weapon spawners, I recommend these because then you don't have to, you know, if you just place a weapon, it will not respawn unless the match restarts. So yeah, that's kind of annoying. I put a few like that on my map. Maybe put a few if you want to as like decorations and stuff, and people can still use them obviously. But yeah, let's place a weapon. Weapon pods are like the ones that drop from the sky. So obviously, if you're placing any of those, do like a power weapon. Weapon rack, those are like the ones on the walls. Weapon base. Weapon rack backplate. Weapon trunk. These are like the ones in campaign. Oh no, it's a spoiler. Not really. But these are the ones just at the forward operating bases that sometimes have stuff in them for you to grab. Now, if you go into settings, you can change what type of weapon it spawns. And static selection, if you enable that, it will make it so it's never ever randomized. You get exactly what you put. You can put legendary variants. So if you want like the campaign versions of these weapons, you can absolutely throw that in there as well, which is kind of cool, I think. Let's see what else you need. Oh yeah. So this will change how frequently it respawns. It like under what condition it respawns, and then also if you can set a timer so it doesn't spawn back instantly as well. So that's always handy as well. Now let's get out of this section because that covers gameplay. Halo design set. These are actually really useful. I did not know about this section until just recently. My friend discovered it, and subsequently I discovered it. But yeah, these are like what the developers actually use whenever they're making maps. So they're pretty basic. They're a little bit more detailed than your like primitive items, and I'd recommend them over that. But like let's see. Yeah. So it comes with two color zones, some textures on it, not a lot. But you can obviously customize it, and these are all scalable as well. So you know, you can do whatever you want with it. You can rotate it, you can do this, you can do that. Kind of cool. Made it into a paper. Didn't mean to do that. Yeah, just these are what the bulk of what you're going to be building like interiors and stuff with, really. I mean, they have windows, walls, they have doorways. You really want these Forerunner doorway. This, because they have a Forerunner door that's functional. I did not know those even existed, so I just, before I made my Among Us Temple map, I just had Forerunner doors without a door frame, and it looked kind of gross. So yeah. Lights, so you can add ambient light to your area or take it away. Primitives, these are like if you just want to build something from scratch, like the Big Chungus. He's made out of a bunch of spheres, I would assume. And props, these are like just some fun little things like a soccer ball and golf ball. Summertime, just more little fun things like that. Toys. Now these ones are really, really cool. I'm glad they included them. You got the Arbiter toy, which can't really see it from where I'm sitting. I mean, yeah. Oh wait, maybe that's the Atriox toy. It's the Atriox toy. Yeah, that looks like the Arbiter. Yeah, cool little toy. Okay. Anyway, we got Cortana, we got Spartan, Grunt, Halo Arcade Machine, Locke, Chief, Johnson, Spartan Sandwich, the Didact, Harbinger, Librarian, just like little toy versions of them that are kind of cool. You can just put various places for fun. And those are all scalable as well. Structures, these you are also going to be using a lot for actually building like interiors. But the Halo design set are the ones used to create multiplayer stuff. So yeah, that basically covers that. I'll just show you an ugly map whenever I'm done. So yeah, I'll bring you guys back. Sorry, it's such a long video, but yeah, I think that covers pretty much everything. If you have a question on how to do something, just throw it in the comments, and I will absolutely try to get back to you on it. Yeah, and happy forging. If you're not interested in seeing what ugly garbage I come up with, click off now by all means. But after you leave a like and subscribe, please, for more helpful tutorials like this. And see you guys whenever I finish this. So yeah. Alright, so I said I would show you guys the finished map, and here it is. It's kind of a mess, but it really just kind of built it as a concept. So there's 2 floating islands above each main big floating island base, and there's teleporters to get up to one has a vehicle, and like one has snipers and like a turret and stuff. And it's symmetrical on both sides, kind of, somewhat, to the best of my abilities. And then obviously the base, you got inside of there. And vehicle spawns, weapon spawns. I kind of just threw equipment down because I was interested to see what other Forge maps people had made. But yeah, so these right here, they don't actually have energy bridges yet as a feature you can like put on your maps. So I kind of went and made my own using the energy effect and just put vehicle blockers and player blockers. As you can see, they're solid, and I will walk across them right now actually just to show you guys that again. But you have to put vehicle and player blockers if you're going to build them. Warning, depending on your internet connection, they're kind of janky and very laggy, as is the whole map, because like I just scaled up rocks for these asteroids, so it's a little bit bumpy. And unfortunately, some bots are kind of stupid when they play on this. But yeah, it is what it is for the map as it is. The other side, I had to get a little bit more creative with the ramps because I still wanted to do the energy bridges. Base is pretty much the same, and I of course like added these fancy little teleporters for particle effects as well. They aren't like that up top, but I figured I'd do that on the bases just for the effect. And there's also a central fighting area where you can find your oddball and stuff. And there's also some King of the Hill zones, another teleporter that goes up to this very top island up here. And now it spawns a Wraith, because I thought you'd be able to like use the mortar, fire down on these bases, but that does not work at all. But what is kind of funny is that I realized you could go off these grav lamps and they would like land on these smaller bridge asteroids, and then you can just take them into bases and stuff. I think this will mainly like play well, like capture the flag or seed pods, or really any team mode, but I'd play with actual players as opposed to bots because, yeah, like I said, bots are kind of stupid on this map, but it's still kind of fun to play with them because they will fight pretty aggressively if you get near their base, but they don't really know how to explore the map otherwise. Just a bit of fair warning, like I said, the bridges are janky, but for the most part, if you're using like a Warthog, they're fairly reliable. Fairly, I mean, but you know, it's kind of like risk reward. You can get around faster, but you also have that danger of falling off mysterious empty bridges. So yeah, that's the map. I'll be publishing it. It is called Floating Fossil. And yeah, thank you for watching.